The main thrust of this channel is looking at biblical prophecy and trying to deconstruct it by putting it into context historically, contextually, and by just examining things and showing that really when it comes down to it, there's no actual prophecy in the Bible. But I want to take a step back and ask a different kind of question for a moment. And that's the question of, has belief become an idol? And the reason I'm asking this is because I do like watching a lot of different people talk about the topic of spirituality and God. I've listened to atheists and Christians and Islamic people and rabbis and people talking about the Eastern religions. I find that there's an awful lot of people who have this idea that if you don't believe exactly the way I do, you're going to end up going to hell. And so the question becomes is, why is that belief so important? And first off, how do you know you're right? I mean, because if tons of people have this idea that they're the only ones who know any better. And then second of all, what is it that makes the belief itself so important? Has the belief actually become more important than God? To demonstrate this point, I want to use some poetry. I have two poems here, and the first one I took from the Song of Songs. This is actual Old Testament scripture. So this is the holy book. Set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm. For love is as strong as death. Jealousy is fierce as the grave. Its flashes of fire, the very flame of the Lord. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can floods drown it. If a man offered for love all the wealth of his house, he would be utterly despised. And then the second one I have is from Rumi. He's an Islamic mystic and poet, and he's got some really good stuff worth reading. But this is a smaller one. The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you, not knowing how blind that was. Lovers don't finally meet somewhere. They are in each other all along. The reason I picked love poetry is because this is something that can't ever actually lead you to the feeling. Now, people who have had these experiences will understand, like falling in love, that love is like fire, that jealousy can be as strong as the grave, that love can't be drowned no matter what you do to it. People who have had the experience will understand it. But I feel like what is happening so much is this idea that you have to believe the way that I believe is like saying that you have to believe that the words that I just read are true. That, okay, so somebody who has fallen in love can say like, yeah, I understand why they would say that love is an unquenchable fire. But stopping at the idea of belief, stopping at the idea of saying, I believe that those words are true, is not having the actual experience itself. It's not ever actually falling in love. And that is what I mean is belief an idol. Because belief is not God. Belief is not the experience of God. And I do want to make clear, when I'm talking about the experience of God, I'm not necessarily meaning that we have to go out and seek mystical experiences. While mystical experiences are wonderful and life-changing, the everyday, the mundane can be taken as an experience of God. Because if God is truly infinite and truly everywhere, if God is what's actually important, then God is going to be the thing that's actually looked for. Just as a hungry person only sees restaurants when they're driving around town, just as someone who's almost run out of gas in their car is desperately searching for gas stations, it's the same kind of idea, that God is something that can be found in the everyday experiences when God is what's being looked for. But with the second one with Rumi, I found several interpretations that I thought were interesting. One of them focused on the idea that the lover was there the whole time. And they took that to mean that the self-love that was within us is what was important, because you can't actually love anyone or anything else until there's real self-love. Or that there's an enormous amount of growth listed there, but not really dove into. Rumi didn't dive into it. And so there's this hinting at something, this growth, but but it's glossed over. Or because Rumi has written so much about God that somebody else took the concept that God was there the whole time, that was the lover that he was looking for. But those poems cannot give us the experience. They can only describe it. I want to further illustrate this with the concept of infinity. And we can consider this example that mathematicians like to use, and that's this infinite hotel. So there's a hotel with an infinite number of rooms in it. And one day an infinite number of guests show up and they fill all the rooms. Well, later on another guest shows up. And so in order to make room for this new guest, they just have everybody move over one. The new guest can take room number one, and everybody else is able to fill the rest of the rooms. And this can keep going on for infinity. But what happens if you have another bus show up with an infinite number of guests? Well, you just have all of the guests who are already there move to the odd number of rooms. And then the new bus with the infinite number of guests can take the even number of rooms, and so on and so forth. This can keep going forever because there is literally always more. And infinity is just such a crazy concept. As far as our lifespan, the time that our life takes and the distance that we can travel, our universe is essentially infinite to us. There's a sort of infinity that's formed in a singularity, in a black hole, which curves space in another infinite way, and in such a way that light can't even escape. And so we're talking about this concept of this supposedly infinite God, and we're trying to wrap it up and contain this being in a few thousand words or in a few thoughts that the human mind can comprehend. But when we actually consider real infinities, there's no comprehending that. The idea that at the end of the day, that if we don't have the right thoughts on something that we can't comprehend, we're going to spend another infinity, an eternity in hell, being punished because we didn't have the right thoughts, is just another mind-boggling thought. But if you relate this to believing in our holy texts, it's like saying that we have a religion that believes in 750,000, that we have numbers from 0 to 750,000, where fundamentalists might come along and say, no, the number line only goes to 500,000. And then you might have some mystics that say, no, the number line goes all the way to 1,000,000. We just kept counting and it just kept going. But the thing is that there's always more, because we know that there's 1,000,001, 1,000,002. So what is it that is causing us to stop? What is it that's causing us to say that these books have it all and that's it? And that's why I am saying that I think that this belief has ended up, this idea of belief has ended up kind of freezing us from actually looking for anything deeper, anything spiritual, and has locked us into a mindset that is not willing to grow. And that is why belief is an idol. It is something that stands between us and finding anything else of this divine being. So thank you for listening, and I hope you like and subscribe and join me next time.